And I remember for breakfast, this was 1999. Okay, I was a stupid college kid, but for breakfast, me and the guys I lived with, we ate Pop-Tarts because we were told on television that this was a decent breakfast.
Shut up! You do not believe that. I think they just tasted awesome.
It was 1999. The idea of health in America was at a whole different level, and we were stupid college kids. So you can't blame us, but there are a lot of people like that. Our guest today has been called the Oprah of fitness. Her name is Jillian Michaels, and odds are you've heard of her because she has an international community of followers exceeding 100 million people. Jillian is such a radiant force in the world of fitness. I'm so excited to have her join us in the Mind Valley podcast. Today, I was just playing around with her app. It's called The Fitness App by Jillian Michaels. And here's the cool thing, right? The Fitness App was awarded numerous awards from Apple and Google for App of the Year. It is insane. This app is so good. I strongly recommend it. And I started playing with it and I was blown away by the aesthetics, the design. And Mind Valley makes apps too. So this is technically one of our competitors. We don't do any fitness apps, but I know a good app when I see it. And I just got to say, guys, Jillian's app like crushes it. But she's not just the star of her own fitness app. You've seen her on television. She is the author of 8 New York Times best-selling books. She is, and her company, Empowered Media, has become a monumental wellness empire. Jillian's most recent book is available now. It's called The 6 Keys, Unlock Your Genetic Potential for Ageless Strength, Health, and Beauty. Jillian, welcome to the Mind Valley podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. It's great to be on with you.
So excited to have you here. So, first thing I want to find out is when you were growing up, was this the vision of the life you wanted to lead? Because you've built a massive fitness empire. Was this always the goal?
Not at all. I think when I was growing up, I wanted to be a rock star, but I have no musical talent whatsoever, so it did not work out for me. And then I was a chubby kid. I was a bullied kid going through a lot at home. And I was fortunate enough to fall into martial arts at around 12. And it was through my own personal journey with fitness that I began to appreciate its transformative powers. And I realized that when we feel strong physically, it helps us feel stronger in every facet of our lives. So I kind of fell into this line of work very organically, began training people very organically at 17 years old, and had a very long journey with like the jobs you think you should do, the shoulds in life, the responsible thing,
Right.
where you're miserable and you make no money, and ultimately came back to fitness permanently at about 27. Opened a sports medicine facility at 30, ended up on The Biggest Loser at 31, and the rest is kind of history.
That's so cool, right? That you were the official fitness coach for The Biggest Loser.
Yes, we had many actually, but I was one of them, the original.
I see. And that's how I first heard about you from watching that reality TV show. So when you created your fitness app, I'm curious, but what is unique about your approach to fitness?
Well, for me personally, I specialize in weight loss and overall fitness. So when you think of doctors, right, they subspecialize. You wouldn't see a podiatrist for high cholesterol. You wouldn't see a cardiologist for Alzheimer's. Training is the same. There are trainers that are sport specific. If you're working with a basketball player or a football player and they have certain modalities of fitness that they need to improve, be it agility or mobility. If you want to pack on muscle, you would train with somebody who specializes in that. If you have an injury that you're trying to rehab, that's a corrective exercise specialist. And while I'm proficient in these different areas, right? I could look at you and go, oh, you've got this going on with your hip. We could correct it. My specialty is weight loss. I'm very good at it. That's what I do well. Or just getting you trim, getting you in generally great shape, overall well-being, like an internist of fitness, if you will. So for me, I think that with that being my specialty, I'm very authentic. My message has been consistent and I deliver results. And that's where, as crazy as it sounds, I found differentiation and longevity.
So now I was told, Jillian, that you love controversial questions. Okay, so I want to get controversial because there's a lot of opposing ideas in weight loss. So I'm gonna ask you this question. I was watching a show on Netflix, and the show on Netflix was called Adam Ruins Everything, and there was an episode called Adam Ruins the Dieting Industry.
Okay.
And they specifically picked on The Biggest Loser, and they brought in a scientist who dropped a number of statistics that were puzzling. One of the statistics is that only 1% of Americans who go on any form of like popular American diet actually keeps the weight off. Okay. Most people bounce back. Another thing is that on The Biggest Loser, they emphasize exercise so much that people burned off their musculature. And therefore, as soon as they got off the show, they started putting on weight again. Okay. So I'm curious to know your thoughts. Like, firstly, do you agree with these? And secondly, what is off about the way we are training people to lose weight in the world today?
Okay. So first, let's address people gaining the weight back. On The Biggest Loser, we actually had a 35% success rate, which is unheard of. And the statistics for people that gain the weight back is 95%, not 99%. But with that said, be it on The Biggest Loser or off The Biggest Loser, there is a propensity to gain weight back, just like there's a propensity to fall off the wagon when it comes to alcoholism, just like there's a propensity to start smoking again if you quit. And this has nothing to do with the science of weight loss. This has everything to do with the psychology of it, not the biochemistry, not the physiological aspects. It has nothing to do with exercise. It has nothing to do with calories. It has nothing to do with food quality. When somebody is obese, this is not a person who just likes pizza, right? We engage in habits that potentially become self-destructive because at one time or another, these habits provided us with something very significant, just like any other addiction, right? So whether it was a sense of control or whether it was a sense of comfort or whether it was the way you bonded with your parents over food or whether you didn't want to threaten a member of the family by shining. And I could give you a million different reasons, but the bottom line is that people choose to eat more without realizing it because it's providing them with something, or they choose to be larger in many cases without realizing it because it's providing them with something. So on The Biggest Loser, you see that weight loss and diet, eating less, using common sense with your food choices and moving more works. Nobody needs to lose 100 pounds in 8 weeks. It can be done. I'd be happy with 20 pounds in 8 weeks. The bottom line is it works. It's evidence that it works. However, the issues that drive somebody to eat more are not resolved. So when that individual is confronted with something challenging, or they go back into the same environment, they can regress and go back to those old behaviors. And I'll give you a perfect example. There was a kid that I worked with on the show, and he lost like 100 pounds in 8 weeks, and he was only 18, maybe 19 years old. He and his father came. They went home for the holidays. They hadn't been kicked off the show, but it was Christmas. So all the contestants went home, and he came back and he had gained 7 pounds. Wow. And to make a very long story short, what had happened was that his mother, who was also significantly overweight, when she saw her son and her husband 100 pounds lighter, she, was threatened. She became depressed. She was crying. She felt like they were going to outgrow her. She felt like they were going to abandon her. She felt like they were going to leave her behind. So what does she do? She withdraws from him, and it triggers an emotional abandonment from his mother. So what does it afford him? It
Right.
affects the connection with his mother. So what does he do to avoid a primal abandonment? He starts eating again with his mother. This has nothing to do with diet and exercise. So let's put that over here. And
Mm.
then on The Biggest Loser, I don't know who this doctor is, but that's completely untrue with regard to muscle. In fact, I did not like the doctor on Biggest Loser. I had many issues with him. However, there were times where, not times, he would take every contestant and dunk them, and they would go through DEXA scans. And in fact, they would actually gain muscle, which I could never reconcile scientifically, because first of all, they had a tremendous amount of muscle to begin with, because when you're carrying 300, 400, 500 pounds, you're going to be pretty darn strong. Nobody needs calves this big with muscle. That's how much muscle they had already. And yet somehow they would actually gain muscle, which is unheard of, while losing weight. And the argument for this, and I would ask the mechanism of that to be explained to me, because it's totally counterintuitive. But the argument is that, or the science that was explained to me behind those results, is that when an individual has that many calories they're burning through, essentially, because that's what fat is, it's stored energy. We're not talking about what it does in the body, but that's what it is. You have this excess energy that can be utilized to build more muscle, because they're still eating, they're still taking in food. So that's just completely untrue. And the science of the show exists somewhere with the doctor of the show, but I worked on it, and that's a flat out lie. They actually gained muscle. Oh, I can't hear you. There we
No
go.
worries. I was muted. I said that's actually interesting. You can watch this on True TV. Adam Rubin's Everything: Why Extreme Diets Don't Work. It's an episode on True TV. If you Google it, you'll find snippets of the episode on YouTube. But I see where you're coming from. I'm sure that they are opposing ideas over here. Now, one of the things that I wanted to ask you about is your opinion on the famous Vox article that emerged a few years ago that suggests that 85 to 90% of our body shape is what we eat. And a tiny, tiny percentage, 10 to 15%, is based on exercise.
Okay, so I can actually answer that in a very clear and easy way. So if you're trying to lose weight, you must exercise. In fact, weight loss is in large part exercise. And here's why. Because let me give you the math, the simple mathematics of it. And while people like to say that the math is irrelevant, it isn't. There are a million studies that will evidence the fact that calories in, calories out is the most powerful tool despite food quality. And you can look at the Twinkie diet as evidence of that. This is a guy named Mark Taub, who's a professor of nutrition, who ate nothing but garbage and ended up losing 27 pounds, just to show the simple math of weight loss. So now, if I am 150 pounds, I'm only 5'2". So let's say I'm 25 pounds overweight, right? And I've been eating 2,500 calories a day. So let's say I'm only burning 1,600 calories a day without any exercise, just through my daily activity, right? I burned 1,600. Okay. So I've been gradually having a bonus of 900 calories a day, and I've packed on an additional 30 pounds. Now I want to lose it. So I say, okay, I'm going to drop my calories to 1,500 calories a day. And man, am I feeling that diet, right? Because I was eating a heck of a lot more.
Right.
So I'm like, I am sacrificing, right? I'm having egg whites for breakfast and broccoli and boiled chicken. And I am really going all in. I'm being so, quote, good, or I've made dramatic changes. But here's the problem. To lose a pound, and we can nitpick and give and take, and it's not exact, whatever. The math is the math. I have evidenced the weight loss. A pound is around 3,500 calories. It's right in that zone. You need to burn 3,500 calories more than you're ingesting to lose a pound. So if my body is burning 1,600 calories and I'm eating 1,500 calories, that's 100 calories a day. It's going to take me 35 days to drop 1 pound. And if I have had, something salty, or if I'm a woman and it's that time of the month, I'll be holding water. And at the end of 35 days, I could have even gone up a pound because I'm holding a few pounds of water. And then I'm like, oh my God, diets don't work. So it is working. What you're not paying attention to is you're no longer gaining weight. Great, right? That's working. You're no longer steadily packing on the pounds. You're holding ground and you're gradually, very slowly dialing the numbers back. But if I add exercise into the mix, I've now taken that daily burn of 1600 and likely brought it up to 2100 with the work I'm doing during my workout and the burn after my workout, right? So now I'm burning an extra 700 calories a day instead of 100 calories a day. And 700 calories a day times 7, that's a pound and a half or so a week. That's why exercise is critical when it comes to weight loss. And it keeps your metabolism going overall, right? So when we reduce calories, but we don't move more, we can slow down our base metabolic rate. Not a ton, but it can happen. So if you want to lose weight, yes, you need to be mindful of what you're eating, because if you think about it, 2 slices of pizza is that 700 calories a day. So watching what you're eating kind of holds neutral. You're not gaining, but then exercising brings us into reverse and helps us actively lose. Now, when it comes to weight maintenance, it's all food, not health. But weight maintenance, if I don't eat more than I'm burning in a day, I won't get bigger. I just will not. And when it comes to weight gain, once again, it's all food. Because if I'm eating more than I burn in a day, then I'm going to gain the weight. So with gain, it's like 100% food. With maintenance, it's like 85, 90% food. But with weight loss, it's like 80% exercise, 20% food.
That's so interesting. So it's counter to this article. I'm just going to paste the article here in the chat. Okay.
Yeah.
Panelists and attendees. And we don't have to debate this, but it's just cool listening to different viewpoints. So this article is from Vox, and Vox said why you shouldn't exercise to lose weight, explained with 60 plus studies. And what they explain over here, what Vox explains, and it's a long article, but it's well researched and the studies are listed. They say this. I'm trying to find that specific. Exercise is almost useless for weight loss.
Unfortunately, I would need time.
It's a bold statement, right? Yeah.
And go through every study. But what I can say is I've been doing this for 3 decades. And I'm kind of one of the best in the world at it. And I think I could say, like, you've seen me do it on TV. So you can say, well, they didn't keep it off. It's like, as I mentioned, that's a psychological problem. It doesn't have anything to do with exercise. But even if you were to look at any of the comments, let's say hypothetically under any of the posts on social, because you could say, well, she faked the testimonials. No problem. I faked the testimonials. Look at the comments on YouTube where people are like, I started doing your workout, or I started taking your advice on calorie counting, and suddenly the weight came off. So, I mean, I could go.
I found the phrase here that I think may reconcile this. Okay. It says exercise alone is almost useless for weight loss. Exercise accounts for a small portion of daily calorie burn. But I noticed in your app, which is an excellent app, one of the things that you do that I really like is you also help with the food. It's not just exercise. You are what I loved about your app, that one of the best and coolest ways I've seen in any fitness app to help you plan your diet.
Okay, first of all, as I mentioned, you can eat your way through any amount of exercise. And that's why you've got to eat at the very most what you're burning in a day, and allow exercise to create that deficit to dig into your stored energy in your fat cells, right? However, that's just simply not true. If you're training efficiently and effectively, you could burn anywhere from 10, depending on your size. I could burn 10 calories a minute. A 250-pound man can burn 20 calories a minute if I was training him. So if not more, and then you have the afterburn effect, or what's called EPOC, excess post-oxygen consumption, basically means afterburn, an elevated metabolic rate after you train, and that is impacted by the intensity of the workout, the duration of the workout. So how you train can be 500 calories for someone like me with a 30-minute workout over a 24-hour period, or my God, I mean, with a grown man, 1,000 calories.
Right. So let's move off the subject, and I want to bring up another controversial topic. Well, I mean, I don't know if it would be controversial, but I'd love to know your views on fasting, intermittent fasting.
Sure.
Everyone is talking about it. Mind Valley has a program coming out on intermittent fasting. Dave Asprey just wrote a book on it. Curious to know your thoughts on fasting.
I mean, it is irrefutable that for longevity and health, it is one of the best things you can do. Ironically, I was just talking to a guy named Dayan Goodnow, and he specializes in looking for these biomarkers of disease. And I mean, just yesterday, and he was like, one of the best things you can do is an intermittent fast. And Dr. David Sinclair, same thing, a geneticist at Harvard, who talks about one of the best things you can do for anti-aging is create a fasting window. So fasting for weight loss, no. I look at fasting as a component for overall health, fighting disease,
Really?
lengthening your life, and it's just irrefutable. The science.
Do you practice fasting in any way?
I do a minimum 12-hour window, and I try to get to a 14-hour window. And I have a little cheat now that I've employed that isn't as ideal, but I'll do like instead of the MCT and all of that, I just do a little organic heavy cream in my coffee. And it gets me from 12 to 14. But if I go longer, I end up overeating because I become overly hungry. So it becomes counterintuitive. But I get a minimum of a 12-hour window, and I try to get to 14.
And you try to do that every day of the week?
Yeah, every day. But by the way, it's honestly the way we're designed. It's called breaking your fast.
Right. Breakfast. Right.
I mean, what's crazy is that this is the way we're designed. We're designed to sleep overnight, not eat while we're sleeping. And that's one of the reasons like that late night snacking is so bad, because that's when your body is doing all of its rebuilding, repairing, making hormones.
Yeah.
And you need to be in that fasted state for it to do that efficiently. So yes, I mean, this is not my science. Obviously, this is the science far greater than me, but I understand it, and I believe that it's a tremendous tool for health.
So I agree. Fasting, I fast. I do a 16-hour fast 4 times a week, and I do a 20-hour fast once a week.
Oh, how do you do it?
Well, because I'm beta testing. I'm beta testing Mind Valley's new fasting program. So coffee and water with Himalayan salt, sparkling water with Himalayan salt, really help you push through it. And I got to a point where I do a 20-hour fast now once a week, and I feel good. Like I don't get any hunger pangs. But
I don't know that I'd make it. I would love to be able to, because I appreciate the benefits. I don't know that I'd be able to get through it. I'll have to try again.
But again, in almost every fasting book, recent book on fasting, it says that the rules for men and women are different. And even in Mind Valley's program by Ronan Diego, he says that for women, the 20-hour window is too much. I can't remember the rules for women, but what you're doing sounds about right.
I can get to that 14 with that little cheat of the cream, because it kind of holds me without getting like, and it keeps me from like when you finally eat and you're like, wow, this is the best tasting omelet I've ever had, and you end up
exactly right. I love that about fasting. I love the process when you break your fast. Yeah. Okay, the next question is, I'd love to hear your views on exercise. Like, what are some of the biggest BS ideas out there regarding exercise, and what exercise routines do you recommend? And I don't want you to hold anything back.
Okay, let's see. Well, first of all, let's get into what I recommend. The number one rule of fitness is consistency. So, I could tell you all the most effective techniques and, high intensity training. And yes, beginners can do high intensity, because what's high intensity for a beginner is appropriate for beginners, right? It's all relative. High intensity training, resistance training, I mean, metabolic circuits, all of this stuff. I could get into these techniques that are going to be the most efficient and the most effective and the burn more calories and boost your DHEA and your testosterone level, all that crap. But if you would rather be dead than show up for it, it's not going to work. So the reality is consistency is key. And this is where you kind of got to meet people where they're at. So if they love Pilates or they love dance, or they like to walk or hike or whatever, you got to go, all right, you love these things. Let's build that into your schedule at least 4 times a week, ideally. And what would be great actually is if we did this 3 times a week and you gave me 2 of these kinds of workouts for variety, to have a more holistic approach to your fitness, to work on different modalities of fitness and so on. So that's consistency is key, getting someone to show up. And then we could get into all those other techniques I touched upon. Some of the greatest baloney are things like hot workouts. And I know people love it, but it's totally counterintuitive. I'm not trying to, people subscribe to diets and workouts like a religion. So it's wild how personal they take it. When you critique a diet or a workout trend. But the reality is you're not detoxing. I'm sorry, my dog is having a complete sneeze fest. What are you doing? Are you good? Right behind my chair, right? Sorry. So that's what you're hearing in the background. So you're not detoxing the body through sweating. That's like turning lead into gold. And I have seen so many people, oh, we're detoxing. Are you good? Are you done? Okay, I think he's good now. And it's absurd. That's not what happens. You're literally cooling yourself. That's what sweating does. So when we're taking a hot workout, it compromises our intensity because it's hot as hell. So you feel like it's intense because you're hot. But we want to generate heat from the inside out, right? Not the outside in. It actually makes your contractions less intense, less powerful. It makes your workout less intense. So you're getting slower results because you aren't able to train as hard. You're dehydrating yourself, which is completely counterintuitive to health and fitness, efficiency and effectiveness. So things like that are just like, if you love it, I mean, okay, drink a lot of water, but it's not more effective. You're not burning more calories. It's the exact opposite. And I could go through, all these different things, but, people love it. So I would just say, do your homework on the pros and the cons of it and try to mitigate, right? So if you do something like that, drink a ton of water. People love communities like CrossFit. Some of the downsides is that, you've got very advanced types of fitness, right? You've got very advanced modalities of fitness, with coaches, I'm sorry, that have been trained for a weekend. And then on the other hand, you've got guys that have degrees in exercise science teaching it.
What are your views on high intensity interval training?
Love it when it's done properly. So what I mean by that is it needs to be the right intensity for the athlete. So what's high intensity for me might not be high intensity for you, right? If I was to have you do sprints on a treadmill or Tom Brady do sprints on a treadmill, or I'll use myself. I mean, we could have him at 14 miles an hour and an incline of 10, and I'm sure we wouldn't be able to break him, right? And we get his heart rate to 170, and I could take somebody off the street and put them at an incline of 5 and a speed of 7, and we could get their heart rate to 170. So what's considered high intensity is different for each athlete. It's based on heart rate. And that heart rate can be achieved at differing levels of activity based on the individual. And you also have to program recovery. So, that's, people will tell you, some exercise specialists I respect will say there's no such thing as overtraining, there's under recovering. I don't know that I fully agree with that, because people get injured when they do things they're not capable of doing. That would be considered training over your fitness level. However, the importance of recovery has been overlooked in many modalities of fitness that are founded upon higher intensity techniques. So I love all of that as long as it's appropriate for the athlete and you've got the appropriate amount of recovery programmed into the regimen.
So what do you think of micro workouts? Like, for example, the book, The 1 Minute Workout by Martin Gibala, PhD. What are your views on that?
Years ago, I used to get really pissed with things like that because it's like, stop giving people this false message of lethargy. Like, just do the bare minimum. I mean, first of all, when you do the bare minimum, you're going to get the bare minimum. Now, is the bare minimum better than nothing? Yes, of course it is. Anything is better than nothing. Every step in the right direction is exactly that, a step in the right direction. But you're going to get the bare minimum. And I also find that it's like, oh, poor, weak, sad, pathetic, sorry you, just take the stairs, just do a minute. Like, this is not an empowering message, in my opinion. Now, if the argument is you're super crazy, you're super busy, like take the stairs instead of the elevator. It's not saying just take the stairs, just do a minute. It's like get every bit of activity into your day that you can. It's going to be beneficial. It's going to add up over time. That message I like. I've even like appreciated the popularity of 7-minute workouts, 10-minute workouts. And I find that it is a no excuse zone. So for example, with the fitness app, we have free daily 7-minute workouts. And it's like, okay, costs you nothing. You need no equipment. Give me 7 minutes. And it's like, it's not daunting. It's not overwhelming. It's not intimidating. There's no barrier to entry. It's totally free and you can do it anywhere, anytime. And it's only 7 minutes, but it's like a gateway drug of fitness. That's a total trick. It's like, come on in, and then you get somebody doing 7 and then you try to get them to do 10 and then 15, and then 20. And if you use it that way of like, look, jump in the water's fine, and you're gradually boosting their confidence and showing them that they can do this and a little bit more, and then they start to see the positive results. That's where I think there's benefit, is incorporating activity wherever you can and meeting somebody where they're at and then bringing them along to bigger numbers.
Yeah, because I can say, I mean, and I'm going to paste another link over here for the audience that's joining us live, right? This is also from Vox, and it's called, you can Google this if you're listening to this in the podcast, How to Get the Most Out of Your Exercise Time According to Science. Now, the 1 minute workout isn't really 1 minute. It's just fancy book marketing. But it is interesting because it's based on the famous studies at McMaster University. And one of the things that they showed is that, so in the study, they basically had people doing a 10-minute high intensity interval training form of workout and then a 50-minute regular aerobic workout. And they found that both had similar results. So their argument is simply, if you can't put in 50 minutes and you can just put in 10 minutes because you're busy, you wake up in the morning, you got to get dressed, get the kids to school, then, hurry off for work, 10 minutes can make a powerful shift in your life. And that's really the whole point of it.
It absolutely can, especially when you're training with those more advanced techniques.
Right.
So this kind of goes back to like, exercise doesn't burn calories. It depends on what you're doing. If you're on the elliptical flipping through your phone, then no, it's not going to do much. You're going to burn 100 calories. But if you're training with these kinds of advanced techniques, you see that in 10 minutes, you can burn in a very slow kind of gradual, flip through the phone, talk to the guy on the machine next to you. If you're training efficiently, you can be very efficient with your fitness and accelerate your results. So high intensity interval training is exactly that. We're training at a higher intensity for a finite period of time, because of course these levels of intensity are impossible to maintain in a consistent time frame. So for example, you can't hold a 9 minutes or a 9 mile an hour sprint for 10 minutes. That's kind of the whole point. It's like you're holding it for 20 seconds, so 30 seconds, a minute.
And I think that's an important distinction, right? When you're doing a 10-minute workout. So the study here is based on a 2016 SIT study by Dr. Gibala. And what I think people forget is that 10 minutes is crazy intense. So
Yes.
you are saving time, but it's gonna freaking crush you. It's crazy intense. Now that brings me to the next question I'd love to ask you about, because we only have about 14 minutes left. What are your views on resistance training?
Great for you. I mean, with it's once again, it's just irrefutable.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know why somebody would write an article about don't exercise. Like that's the kind of person you just
No, I don't think
they're
that's the
like,
point.
what are
I
you
think,
doing? Like you want
yeah,
clickbait, like you're trying to make these, like it's just wrong. It's like when you give people this information because you're like, oh, they're gonna want to hear this. This is
yeah. Well, I'll tell you
go
what
work out to
the,
lose weight. Like resistance training
yeah.
is the most powerful things that we can do for our cognitive function.
Resistance training is amazing. Yeah, it's so amazing. I mean, Mind Valley's whole 10X protocol is based on optimized resistance training. But just on that article, right? It's by Julia Belus and Javier Zaracina. It's called Why You Shouldn't Exercise to Lose Weight, explained with 60 plus studies. And they suggest that 90% of your body shape is food, 10% is exercise. I checked this statistic with Dr. Mark Hyman. He actually agreed. He said it's 80% food, 20% exercise. But why I think they use the article. Now, of course, today in the web, you gotta have clickbaity headlines to get attention. But really what they're going for are companies like Nestle and Coca-Cola. Nestle and Coca-Cola tell you to eat fake food, like horrible substances that shouldn't be in the human body. And then they tell you, oh, but if you exercise, you burn it off. So go ahead and enjoy your soda, your Milo.
Actually do. That is the truth, but it's not going to prevent you from getting cancer from genetic mutations after eating fake food. So, we have to separate weight loss and health. So these two can absolutely intersect, right? But the reality is, if you're eating 10 Twinkies and then you eat 3 Twinkies, you will get smaller. Skinny people get diabetes, skinny people get heart disease, skinny people get cancer because the chemicals still kill you. You just might not have extra calories. So there's calories, which is energy, right? And then there's nutrients. They're very different things. So it just depends. I know skinny people that drink Coca-Cola that are very active. Look at Brooks' diet when he was swimming like an animal. He was in fantastic shape. Now, is it going to cause cancer down the road that he was eating McDonald's every day? Quite possibly, but his body was amazing. So you have to differentiate these things.
And for those of you listening, I really want you to Google this. Financial Times, Nestle Leak. So this happened on May 31st. May 31st, so really recently. The article here, and I've pasted it in the link for those of you who are live with us, Nestle document says majority of its food portfolio is unhealthy. A leaked internal memo from Nestle. Nestle itself said that 60% of their products do not meet recognized definition of health. And so it's shocking, but it shows you how much we're being lied to. So I'm really glad that we agree on this point.
I wrote a book about this well over a decade ago called Master Your Metabolism. And it looked at the dangerous chemicals in our food, and not only that, but in our air and our water and your beauty products and your cleaning products, and how they are impacting not just your weight and your metabolic function and your biochemistry, which determines how your metabolism is going to function, but your overall health and wellness. The only thing, and the reason I've sort of dialed back a bit on that message is because I find it overwhelms the hell out of people. So this is where I try to just say like, okay, look, let's simplify this as best we can, right? Like, stop eating when you're full. Don't overeat. We know when we're full, right? But then it's like, oh, but it tastes so good, just a few more bites. Or it's like we're bored or we're snacking. We know we're not actually hungry. Eat when you're hungry. Use common sense with your food choices. You and I could ask anybody on the street right now, any person, I guarantee you, like, hey, should you have pizza or the chicken salad? They know the answer.
Right.
You know,
But when we're being marketed to, right? When we're being marketed to, I mean, I went to school in Michigan, and I remember for breakfast, this was 1999. Okay, I was a stupid college kid, but for breakfast, me and the guys I lived with, we ate Pop-Tarts. because we were told on television that this was a decent breakfast.
Shut
And
up. You did not believe that. I think they just tasted awesome.
it was 1999.
Come on.
The idea of health in America was at a whole different level, and we were stupid college kids. So you can't blame us. But there are a lot of people like that. A lot of people were not as educated about health as I was. Were as little educated about health as I was when I was in college, and think Pop-Tarts are a regular breakfast. Now, I grew up in Malaysia, and in Malaysia, Nestle is the biggest company on the stock market. And Nestle has brainwashed the entire population of Malaysia to believe that children need to drink 2 glasses of Milo every single day.
Oh.
Milo is 40% sugar.
Yeah.
And Malaysia today has the highest obesity rate of any country in Asia. So there's so much bullshit out there, but it's being forced onto the consumers. Now, one more thing. Someone is asking me in the chat, Vishen, please share the link for your Pop-Tart diet.
Oh God.
Guys, I'm confessing that I was really, really, really stupid and uneducated about health 20 years ago. Okay, but my point is, a lot of people in the developing world don't have access to the knowledge we do, and they fall prey to these douchey marketing tactics. Now, as we're coming to the tail end, I want to ask you this. Have you ever read the book Body by Science by Doug McGuff?
No, I have not.
Okay, so Doug McGuff talks about the big 5 exercises, and he says that if you're going to a gym, there are these specific 5 exercises, and if you do them, and I think he suggests it's between 1 to 3 minutes per exercise, you get incredible results on your body, and it's based on a time under tension. So putting your muscles under maximum pressure, time under tension. Curious to know your thoughts on that.
Time under tension is one of the most powerful techniques in fitness, right? It's how long are you maintaining the contraction? With that said, there are so many different components, right? It's like, well, you're doing something for 1 to 3 minutes. Is your form compromised? Is the intensity of the contraction compromised? Is that counterintuitive? Like, so, there are everybody has a trainer logic, and I appreciate that trainer logic. It's when I don't see trainer logic that I get frustrated. So he has a very clear trainer logic. You could talk to someone like Harley Pasternak, who had 5-factor fitness, and he has a trainer logic. Everyone has a trainer logic. Ultimately, my answer with fitness is that it's kind of like food. It's sort of like saying, like, if you go for tremendous sushi and then you go for tremendous Thai food, is one better than another? I mean, assuming that it's gourmet and the ingredients are wonderful, like, not necessarily. I think the answer with fitness that you can always subscribe to, always. Number 1, consistency, as we discussed. Number 2, variety. I would do his workout once a week, and then I would do something else, because the body adapts. So his workout will become inefficient over time if you're doing it every day anyway. Do his workout.
Because the body adapts, right?
Yeah, do yoga, do a HIIT workout, because you're training different modalities of fitness. You're training flexibility, you're training strength, you're training power, you're training agility. So you want all of that to be the most well-rounded. You also want that to continue to create what's called a stress adaptation response. So for example, I give my body new stressful stimulus. It's like, whoa, this is intense. This is crazy. I've got to adapt. I've got to become stronger. And if you do it all the time, your body will stop seeing results, right? So consistency, then variety. And then if we can get into intelligent intensity with programmed recovery, you're good. Go ahead and have a blast. Take a Pilates class, do this workout from this gentleman, but consistency and variety are going to be your most important things, period.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, Jillian, let's come to your book, 6 Keys. Unlock your genetic potential for ageless strength, health, and beauty. So in the final 5 minutes, I'd love for you to tell us about this book, why you wrote it, and what are some of the key topics that you discuss?
Sure. Okay. So I quite honestly was fascinated in how it dramatically varies the way people age. You could see somebody who is in their early 30s and they literally perform like they are 65. They have high cholesterol and they can barely get up a flight of stairs and their skin is falling apart. And or you could see somebody who's 65 and is hiking Everest and looks fresh as a daisy. And it's like, okay, is this genetic? What is this? And in large part, no, genetics has nothing to do with it. It's about the expression of our genetics, and we can impact that with the way that we live. So it's looking at these 6 body processes, everything from your macromolecules to your telomeres, and how these body processes impact aging and what we can do about it. And intermittent fasting is absolutely in the book for that very reason.
Amazing, amazing. That's good. I can't wait to get access to this book. I'm going to be buying it on my Kindle. So I'm just going to read out a little bit about the book because I want to make sure I direct you to great stuff by amazing authors. So the subtitle is called Unlock Your Genetic Potential for Ageless Strength, Health, and Beauty. The 6 Keys presents an ageless health, fitness, and beauty plan that addresses all 6 of them and gets them working for you instead of against you. So by the 6, Jillian says, scientists and doctors have identified 6 major age insiders: metabolism, damaged macromolecules, epigenetics, inflammation, stress adaptation, and telomeres. And so the book gives you a way to ensure that you are tackling all 6 of these age insiders and ensuring that you are aging in the most beautiful, gracious way.
Well said. I need to have you do this for me on every show.
Yeah, no, I'm serious about reading this book. I'm going to be 46 soon, and I want to be as young as I can, as long as I can. So I'm super excited about this one.
Thank you.
And I like that you cover some new stuff. Like a lot of people are not aware of macromolecules, epigenetics, stress adaptation, or telomeres. Could you give us, just on those 4, could you give us a quick definition of each?
Oh God, it would take time. But like even if we were to get into telomeres, which is essentially these little caps on the end of your DNA, right? So when these things become shortened, that's bad because it compromises your DNA. And so there are ways to maintain the length of your telomeres. They're even looking at things like telomerase, but there are some dangers with that because it has to do with cancer cells and growing cancer cells. But there are ways we can live, behaviors we engage in, nutrients we can consume, and conversely, activities we shouldn't engage with that we know can accelerate the shortening of our telomeres. One of the better ways to evidence epigenome, I find, is because it's a long book. But when you look at something like your epigenome, you can impact your epigenome, right? And it's kind of crazy, but this actually gets passed down to your children. So think of it like this. They have a study in there on the potato famine. I don't know if you've ever heard of this, right? I think it was about 100 years ago. Forgive me, it's been a minute since I wrote this book. So, and the population went through this famine, and it left a marker on their epigenome that slowed down the metabolism of their offspring. Like every single individual who experienced that. Another example of epigenome would be when we talk about muscle having memory, we actually we mark our epigenome to remember how to rebuild muscle.
It's crazy how many of these new discussions, these new discoveries are blowing our ideas of health. Epigenetics is just mind-blowing. So I'm so glad and so proud of you.
I could go on, and that's why I was like, oh God, you're giving me 4. It's gonna be
right, because everybody
just explain it.
So I know we've come to the tail end of this. I just want to give a quick shout out to the book. By the way, the book is currently free on Kindle. Kindle's doing a promo of this book. So if you go to the Amazon page, I'm going to paste it here. You can get this book for free on Kindle, right? Choose Kindle, buy now with 1 click, I don't know if this is going to be still free when you listen to the podcast, but look, I mean, even then it's like $12 for the hardcover version, and this book is going to blow your mind. So go check it out. The 6 Keys Unlock Your Genetic Potential for Ageless Strength, Health, and Beauty by Jillian Michaels. Jillian, thank you so much for being in the Mind Valley podcast.
Thank you for having me. And I look forward to connecting with you sometime in the not too distant future.